If you're watching this video, you're probably already aware that the Nurburgring Nordschleife is a legendary German circuit, almost 13 miles in length with over 150 corners. It's well known as a racetrack, car test venue and a popular track day location for anyone who's brave enough. In this video, we'll be looking at the 24 PC games that contain the track as of early 2024. We'll do a complete lap of the track, changing games in the order they were released chronologically. After that, we'll look at a trio of locations around the track, comparing them to real life, before finally putting various games head to head. Before we begin, there are a couple of non-qualifying games to look at first, which don't make the final cut for several reasons. The first is Monaco Grand Prix Racing Simulation 2, which was also re-released as Kellogg's Frosties Grand Prix. The game included this retro 1950s mode with unofficial cars inspired by that era. The track provided was called Green Hell, a nickname for the Nordschleife coined by Jackie Stewart, and the track shape is rather familiar, albeit without the famous carousel turn. However, in-game this is a much shorter track than real life and is full of fictional stereotypical German scenery, including a tunnel, railway crossing, a large town, and a rise up into the mountains. Due to its lack of accuracy, I've decided to skip this one, but it's an interesting footnote in the history of the Nordschleife track in games. The second title that won't be included is World of Speed, a short-lived free-to-play title where you can soup up your cars to ridiculous speeds, then drift around every bend, as shown here. Ultimately, this is a repurposed and retextured version of the track from the first two Project Cars games, which are included later. Due to the lack of realism, plus the fact this game is now offline entirely and cannot be played at all, I won't be including this one either. So, without further ado, let's begin A Lap in Time, Nurburgring Nordschleife. First up, here's Grand Prix Legends from 1998. Now this simulates the 1967 Grand Prix version of the track, which includes this extra start and finish sequence, which have been built over with the new Grand Prix circuit. This game looks really jerky because it only ran at 36 frames a second, and I've also cropped in the big black borders which appear in the replay mode. Now this vintage version of the track can also be experienced in Automobilista 2 from 2020, and it's fun to put the two head to head to show you what over 20 years of graphic development looks like. But now we're coming to the start of the Nordschleife, so let's go back to Grand Prix Legends. This was the first version of the Nordschleife available, and obviously given the age of computers at the time, they were struggling to even include enough polygons to model the track, let alone the trackside scenery. There's not a lot of scenery going on in this version of the game. There are some trees and a few signs, and that's pretty much it. Now 10 years later we would get GTR Evolution, an add-on pack for Race 07. This is the first modern version of the Nordschleife. It's not laser scanned, so you will find flaws. It also looks a little bit muted in the colour choice that they picked for this track. I don't think many people would choose to play this version of the game just because there's better ones available now. The next game to come along was Need for Speed Shift, which floods everything with this slightly apocalyptic vibe and lots of signs advertising speed hunters and Need for Speed, making it a real festival vibe. Nice jump there, by the way. Handling on this one's a little bit drifty, but that's Need for Speed for you. This was followed by Shift 2 Unleashed, which for some reason added this whacking great background, which makes it feel like you're constantly diving under the ground at all parts of the Nordschleife, which makes it feel like the track's just completely wrong. The trees here are a bit more blobby and filled in than the previous game. Now this is Speed Dreams, which was a free game and still is free, and it's a handcrafted version of the Nordschleife, so what do you expect? Yeah, I mean, you're going to get lost because the accuracy here is not up to the other games that we're looking at. Here's Test Drive Ferrari Racing Legends, which was actually in development since before Need for Speed Shift. The track's very similar to the one in Shift, except it lacks all of the additional branding and festival type stuff that they stuck in the Electronic Arts game. The lighting on this one's a little bit bright, as though somebody's turned up the gamma. And here we are, it's Assetto Corsa. For many people, this laser-scanned version of the track was their favourite until recent times. I find the colours to be a little bit muted compared to some of the other games, but it's quite natural, and obviously the track modelling is fantastic. Here's the first Project Cars game. By comparison, this one feels a bit more like the Need for Speed Shift games, but a little bit better. And here's iRacing. Now, the bumper cam view on this one's a little bit lower than previous games, so you can see the makeup of the road, and it does look a little bit blurry compared to more recent games. The modelling of this track's exceptional. You can feel all the bumps, and there's a lot of detail going on here. Here's Race Room Racing Experience. Now, the scenery around this track is actually very good, as we'll compare later on the head-to-head. I'm not sure about the blur effect on the road though, because it feels a bit like it's sort of barrel rolling off the bottom of the screen. Here's the first bike game. This one's Ride 2. Obviously this means we're going to tilt through the corners. There's a lot less texture detail on the ground here. It almost feels like it's flickering backwards and forwards, and the scenery and modelling of the circuit is a little bit substandard compared to the laser scan tracks. Here's Forza Motorsport 6 Apex. This was a paid add-on for Apex, the premium edition I believe it was called. It features a later time of day than the other tracks, so you've got this almighty lens flare to dazzle you around half the track. Looks nice. And this is Project Cars 2. Now, Project Cars 2 I thought would be a lot better than the first one, but I've noticed that shadows sort of flicker and glitch in the trees as you get nearer to them. I've tried changing my settings a number of ways, but it still seems to do it as we approach the carousel here. And then we'll switch mid-carousel to Forza Motorsport 7, which, unlike 6 Apex, features different time of day and this bloom effect around the trees. It makes it feel quite natural, but I don't know, it's alright, nothing too bad with this one. Bang, straight into Ride 3. This one's tilting heavily through the corners, so feels really off-putting when you've come from all the racing games before. This version of the Nordschleife runs in more of an autumnal vibe. The trees are a little bit browner, feels later in the season than the other games. It's better than Ride 2. And here we are in R Factor 2, another laser scanned epic version of the track. The only real problem I have with R Factor 2 is you can see the shadows drawing in on the Armco a little bit in the distance, which is a little bit off-putting. Again, I'm not sure if graphics settings would dull that out. And this is Project Cars 3, which many people have dismissed as simple arcade game because it took the Need for Speed Shift approach to everything. Graphically, everything's a bit warmer and feels a bit sort of darker in some ways than Project Cars 2. Maybe a bit more realistic. And this is Automobilista 2's version of the track. A lot of people say this is just a clone of the one in Project Cars 2, but we'll have a look in more detail in the head-to-head. I like the way the track almost reflects the blue sky and slightly tinted in the distance. This is Ride 4, which actually features a stabilised camera when running in replay mode like this. I'm not sure about the lighting in Ride 4, this is kind of middle of the day lighting and it's very intense, everything's very white on the track, you can barely see the small carousel here. It feels a little bit apocalyptic in some ways. Compare this to Ride 5, which is now on screen. This one's a little bit more plasticky. This is using the Unreal Engine, and in a minute we'll get to another game that uses that to a much better effect. Now it's time to get right up to date with the latest versions of the track available at the time of making this video. Here's Forza Motorsport. There's not much to say on this long straight. We'll look at some other bits of the game in a little more detail soon. They've added a few more sort of festival atmosphere stuff to the side of the track here. It's not too bad, this version of the track though. But compared to this version, which is Assetto Corsa Competizione, currently everyone's favourite version of the track, the colours look great, everything looks very real. There's little flowers alongside the track and lots of detail. It's also running the 24-hour version of the track, so we're about to leave the Nordschleife and get onto the Grand Prix circuit. Watch the clouds in the distance. Bing! Yeah, they do sort of do that. Clouds do weird things in this game. I'm not sure it's quite right yet. And across the line. And that completes our lap of the Nordschleife. Of course, more games in future will feature the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Rennsport have already confirmed the track will be coming to their currently in development racing game. I expect Assetto Corsa Evo, the rebranded Assetto Corsa 2, will likely feature the track as well. Plus, it may appear in GTR Revival by Straight 4 Studios, formerly Slightly Mad Studios, given they've included the track in all their previous games. Let's now look at some still shots of 3 locations around the Nordschleife, comparing real life to each game. These real life shots come from 2013, so they're a little bit out of date, but it gives you an idea of what the track looks like in real life. First, let's look at the drop into Adenau to compare how each game renders the hillside in the distance. Grand Prix Legends has the hill, but the shape of the track doesn't feel quite right here. In GTR Evolution, the hill's there, but the trees on the left are missing. Need for Speed Shift is not too bad actually, the hillside and everything feels just about right. Shift to Unleash changes the lighting and looks nice, but maybe not quite like real life. Speed Dreams, well, yeah, I mean they tried, but you know. Test Drive Ferrari Racing Legends looks like the Shift games and is pretty good as well. The sky's a bit bright though. Assetto Corsa actually gets the hillside shape in the background pretty wrong. There's also some trees on the right which aren't there in real life. Project Cars actually looks quite good, don't you think? iRacing as well looks good. The field of vision's a little bit pulled in here, so everything feels a bit closer. Race from Racing Experience is actually very good. That's why I said this version's actually quite accurate. Ride 2 doesn't really do the hillside much justice here. Forza Motorsport 6 Apex would be better if there wasn't the lens flare. Project Cars 2, I don't like the hill at all. Why are some of the trees neon green? Forza Motorsport 7 looks more natural. Hill's slightly cambered a little bit wrong, I think. Ride 3, again using the disappointing hill shape here. R Factor 2, not too bad. I'm not sure about the massive trees at the bottom of the hill though. Project Cars 3, yeah, it's tidied up the hillside that looked terrible in Project Cars 2. Automobilista 2 is not bad. Not bad at all really. Hill's a bit closer, but it's field of view. Ride 4, again, why don't they want to make a hill? Ride 5, yeah, it's pretty much the same. Not very good. Forza Motorsport, again the hill's a little bit sort of twisted slightly, but it's not too bad. And Assetto Corsa Competizione still has the hill shape incorrect. Next, it's time to compare the legendary Karussell. So here's the Karussell in Grand Prix Legends. It's okay, but it's lacking heavily in the tree department, I think. GTR Evolution is not too bad given the age of the game. Need for Speed Shift, again we've got this somewhat apocalyptically bright sky. Shift to Unleashed sort of dabbles with the colours a bit, yeah, a bit confusing this one. Speed Dreams, it's the entire corner is concrete, yeah, okay. Test Drive Ferrari Racing Legends, not too bad, better than Shift to Unleashed. Assetto Corsa, yeah, this one's starting to look good. Trees are a bit too tall though. Project Cars, again, pretty decent version of the Karussell here, I think. iRacing, now this gets the trees pretty damn spot on actually. Race from Racing Experience is a very good version of the track, as you can see, especially the grass on the inside. Ride 2, yeah, it's not quite right. Forza Motorsport 6 Apex, it's actually not too bad. Project Cars 2, yeah, again, it's pretty wholesome. Forza Motorsport 7, not too bad this one. Not sure about the writing on the road, mind you. Ride 3, can't really say much about this, it's not very accurate. R Factor 2, I mean, wow, that's pretty much it, isn't it? You know, it's pretty spot on. Project Cars 3, again, I mean, yeah, it's good. The trees are slightly bigger, but then, you know, it's newer than real life. As is Automobilista 2, another pretty good version of the track. All these laser scan ones are pretty decent. Ride 4 is just too bright. I can't see the concrete. And Ride 5, it's too plasticky. Unchanged, really. Forza Motorsport, it's pretty good actually. The trees are a little bit big, but again, it could be field of vision or just that they've grown. Assetto Corsa Competizione, the trees are huge here. I'm not sure if they've really grown that much since 2013. Finally, and for fun, let's see how each game renders the Rebel tree, nicknamed by Jimmy Broadbent, thanks to it not getting any snow in an Assetto Corsa Nordschleife snow mod. Well, Grand Prix Legends has a shed and a tree, but it's not quite right. GTR Evolution, it's made a good stab at the tree here. Need for Speed Shift, it's a tree. It's not the right tree, but it's alright. Shift to Unleashed, the tree has got worse. And the shed's moved. Speed Dreams, what tree? Who cares about trees? Test Drive Ferrari Racing Legends, very similar to the Shift games, and the shed's in the right place though. Assetto Corsa, it's a pretty good tree actually, and the shed's positioning is right. Yeah, it's pretty good. Project Cars, what happened to the tree, dude? This is like not the right tree. iRacing, they've had a go at putting the tree. It's got the right number of trunks in the middle. Race Room Racing Experience, another good tree. It's definitely, and the shed as well. Everything here looks good. Ride 2, the tree's been blown away somewhat and has changed shape. Forza Motorsport 6 Apex's tree is quite small. Project Cars 2, it's a slightly different type of tree, I think. Forza Motorsport 7, it's got a dinky tree again. Ride 3, sort of forgot the tree. R Factor 2, tree's not bad. It's actually a little shorter than it was in 2013. Project Cars 3 seems to have replaced it with a tall poplar. Why? Automobilista 2, this is quite a good version of the tree. Again, it's got the multiple trunks in the middle and the shed's in the right place. Trees on the right are a bit big. Ride 4, it's a sparse tree. I think it's been windy. And Ride 5, no difference really. Forza Motorsport, seems to be 2 trees. I'm not quite sure what's happened there. Everything else is okay. And Assetto Corsa Competizione, tree's a little bit different, but it's good overall. So, what else can we do with multiple captures of the Nordschleife? Well, we can compare specific games, of course. Let's get on to it. First up, here's Grand Prix Legends versus iRacing. Both are made by many of the same team, formerly known as Papyrus. Now let's compare GTR Evolution, which uses the R Factor 1 engine, to R Factor 2. Next up, here are all the Slightly Mad Studio games head to head. Here's the leap in quality between Assetto Corsa and Assetto Corsa Competizione. Now, many people think Automobilista 2 simply reused content from Project Cars 2, so let's compare both. Here's Ride 2, 3, 4 and 5. And here's Forza Motorsport 6 Apex, Forza Motorsport 7 and the newest Forza Motorsport, supposedly rebuilt from the ground up. Here are 6 laser-scanned versions of the Nordschleife to compare. Let's go mad. Here's everything at once. So that completes our time on the Nordschleife. Which was your favourite version? Or which is the most fun version to race? Comment below. And let me know which other tracks you think I should compare. I do have several planned, so feel free to like, subscribe, ring the bell so that you don't miss out on the next instalment of A Lap in Time.